ComicPalooza. Before we bring up Patrick Stewart, I gotta bring you out one of my buddies, one of my co-workers from 104.1 KRBE. You guys are up in the morning with the Rula and Ryan show. Make some noise. Mr. Ryan Chase in the house.
Hey y'all, there was no way I wasn't gonna do this. I mean, all right, y'all are here, I can let you know I'm an old guy, okay? So I remember being in college when this show debuted, Star Trek Next Generation. It's 1987, my roommates were like, what the hell are you doing? You're not going to Drink and Drown at Crossroads tonight. I gotta stay home, I gotta watch Trek. They all thought I was insane, so here we are, what is it, 26 years later. You know, what's really sad is my daughter only knows him as the boss on American Dad. But I think we love him for everything. I'm really, really excited about this. I mean, how much this man has entertained us throughout the years. Are you guys really, really excited? Because they know he's coming up.
Now this is going to be so awesome. Now, there are a couple of things we need to tell you about, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and this will apply to the guy in the front right here. You can take pictures as he walks up the stage. You can take pictures as he exits the stage, but we ask that while Patrick's talking, out of courtesy and respect, no pictures. Also, silence the cell phones. No, none of the ringtones. Everybody's got Star Trek ringtones. We know that. We're impressed. Turn them off, okay? Also, absolutely no video. No video, guys, okay? I don't know what they're going to do to him if they catch him, Ryan. I was wondering. They told me to make that announcement. Like, what are you going to do to him if they do it?
You're making that announcement, but I bet you $1 million by the time I get off this stage, it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah. Absolutely, and you wonder, I mean, the thing that you want, like from these ComicPaloozas and all the cons that go on, you try to like break stories and like try to find out like breaking news. So we're going to try to get something out of Patrick that maybe we don't know. You know, something will make it on the internet. You know, Ryan, though, I know you're the Uber fan, man, and when I talked to you about a week or two ago, I said, dude, we got to do the Patrick Stewart panel together, bro.
I really appreciate it. You were a little mad at me that I didn't dress for the occasion. I understand.
Yeah, I am, dude. I mean, you said you're the Uber fan, and I'm kind of disappointed, and I know that the fans here are a little disappointed. You told me that you had something really special that you were going to do for us today, man.
Nobody in the show said I'd have the cojones to do this, because I'm going to look like a stalker when this man comes in. But I want to introduce you to somebody from our show. Mumbles, come on up here.
Make some noise for Mumbles from the Rula and Ryan show.
All right. Dave, hold this real quick.
All right, man. All right, let's see what we're doing here. Oh my God, dude. Is this really happening? You can take pictures of this, by the way. Dude, he's... Oh my. There he goes. I wonder what Patrick Stewart's going to say when he walks up. Are you guys ready for the big reveal? And the excitement. There he is, ladies and gentlemen.
He's gonna take one look at me and be like, oh dear God.
Dude, tell me the story behind that. Where did you get that? Where do you get
I actually got it online. Believe it or not, y'all, if you blink twice, you'll miss me, but I was actually in an episode of Enterprise a few years ago, and I had the really good fortune of spending the day with Brent Spiner. He was actually guest starring. It was called Cold Station 12. It was like when they did the Augment storyline, and this is why I'll never forget my coworker Rula, because it's like I actually had a line. She's like, you gotta get back to the show. You can't miss another day. They cut my line. So I just basically got to be a tortured Denobulan in the episode. But if you just simply Google my name, you'll see me looking really silly in that costume. Almost as silly as what I look like right now.
I think it looks actually pretty cool. What do you guys think, huh?
Okay, I don't really have to wear this while he's up here.
No, I think we want him to wear that when Patrick walks out.
All right, wait. If you want me to save face and change into regular clothes, let's hear some noise.
If you want him to keep that on while Patrick gets up here, make some noise. You said a minute ago that it was like really hot, dude. Is it like really warm in there?
How in God's name do they wear this on any ship? I'm sweating to death in this thing. It is really hot.
Okay, so the next question, Ryan, is where did you get that, dude? Seriously? And where do you keep? Okay, number one, where did you get it? And number two, where do you keep that thing?
Y'all, this set in our studio office for literally 4 years. I made the mistake of wearing this like on a Halloween party like 4 years ago, and I think I can still smell the alcohol on it.
And And have you ever, is this the first time you've worn it since like you got it, or because I would like, if I had that, I would like go to the bank, or maybe go to Kroger, I'd go Kroger into that thing.
I was thinking maybe the Renaissance Festival.
Dude, you can do that, totally go Kroger. Awesome, man. Well, that's gonna be funny when Patrick gets up here. And I'm just waiting for the signal right now. They're gonna let me know as Patrick's going up the elevator and walking over here, which should be just a couple of minutes. This is gonna go for like about 45 minutes, and there is gonna be a point about midway through, and we're gonna talk to Patrick for just a little bit, and then we're gonna open the floor up for some questions. So if you guys have any questions for Patrick Stewart, what I'm gonna ask is for you to hold up your hand, but make them good questions. Don't embarrass Houston, Texas. Like, hey man, did you go to NEMFA's? And somebody, I was doing a panel earlier, and somebody was like, yeah. I was like, dude, really?
What I'm wondering is how many people out there think they know everything there is to know about Star Trek, X-Men, Family Guy, American Dad? How many of y'all consider yourselves experts out there?
3.
All right, 3. All right.
Ryan, you're in good company.
We're gonna get those 3 up here. See if we
okay,
can
but you know what? When we were talking the other day, you did tell me this. You said, Dave, I said, you know, I'm nervous to meet Patrick Stewart. By the way, we are going to ask you questions about X-Men. All right, is that cool? The one that they're filming right now. That's where we're going to get the scoop, I think, the X-Men. But anyway, I was talking to you, Ryan, and I said, dude, I'm a little nervous. I mean, you know, the notes, what do we write? What do we ask him? And you said, dude, I know everything there is to know about this guy. So lay some facts on us, man. Tell us something that just would astound us.
Lay some facts? Okay, like I said, you know what's interesting? It's not so much facts, what I'd like to ask him. I don't know, y'all tell me if this is a good question or not. When I worked with Brent Spiner for an entire day, I found out something really interesting. We were sitting in a makeup chair together. It was really a funny story because he wasn't wearing data makeup. He was playing, you know, obviously, you know, one of, you know, his ancestors. So he says, I'm going to these conventions, I've got this gray hair, and they're like, wow, you look amazing in that costume. He's like, Jesus Christ, this is the way I really look. But then he was sitting there telling me, he said of all those episodes of Star Trek, he'd never watched a single episode. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And he's like, what he said made a lot of sense. He said, Ryan, he goes, for 7 years, you spent 16 hours a day on a set. What's the last thing you want to do when you get off work? Go home and watch Star Trek? So I thought that was a good point. So I would like to know, I mean, if Patrick has seen all the shows, or if he's never seen any of them like his co-star Brent.
All right, well, that's one of the questions you have, and you know what? You're going to be able to ask him here because, ladies and gentlemen, Houston, Texas, ComicPalooza, make some noise. Please welcome Mr. Patrick Stewart. You guys got to keep it going for Mr. Patrick Stewart. That was great, you guys. Once again, make some noise. Patrick, we can just do this, you know. We can just have them cheer for you all afternoon long if that's okay with you, man. Let's try the mic again. Should we try it again?
Hello.
Yes.
Well, what I was saying just now was how delightful it is to be back in Houston. One person during the course of the day did actually say howdy to me. I want to thank that person very sincerely, because it's like when you come to London and the cab driver says, "Call blimey." It lets you know that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Well, it was an eventful day getting here yesterday, but it has been worthwhile. You may have heard there was an incident at Heathrow yesterday morning, which deprived Heathrow of one of its 2 runways. And you can imagine what that does to the busiest airport in the world. And there was a period of about 45 minutes when it seemed more than likely that my plane would not leave at all. And that would have been just ghastly. So I'm so happy that everything finally worked out, despite the fact that it was approaching midnight when I reached my hotel. And I'm really happy to be here. And every encounter today has been fantastic. You people have been wonderful. Thank you. If I seem to be a little distracted, I also have to tell you that moments before I came up here, I got a call from my security company telling me that an alarm was going off in my apartment. That's always great to hear, isn't it? When you're 1,500 miles away. I once was sitting on a British Airways flight at Heathrow about to fly to Los Angeles, and they'd already said you need to turn all your electronic equipment off now, and my phone rang, and it was my security company at my house in my home in the UK saying, the fire alarm has been activated at your house, the fire brigade are on their way there, and we are making our way there too. And I said, but don't go away, I need to know, I'm on a plane. And I said to the flight attendant, I have an emergency, can I please stay on the phone? And they let me stay on the phone until after the doors were closed, and then they said, that's it, cut it. So I spent nearly 10 hours on a plane, picturing my tranquil, placid, beautiful, quiet home with everything that I possessed in it burning to the ground. It wasn't a fun flight. But here's the curious thing about that experience. By the time I reached LAX, in my mind and in my heart, I was completely settled to the reality that I was just going to start all over again. That they were only things and nobody was harmed and my things could be replaced, and yes, I had good insurance cover, and I was really content. Only to turn on my phone and found multiple messages saying, false alarm, it was a false alarm. But those experiences are valuable because it does give you a little hint about what are the important things in life. Like X-Men, for example. That was probably the most awkward segue that I have ever made. But look, I'm jet lagged out of my mind. I have been here for a few hours, so please forgive me if you can. X-Men, I came here to you pretty much from the set of X-Men Days of Future Past. My work on the movie is done, except I suppose for ADR and things like that, but I think my time in front of the camera on that film is over. It was 4.5 weeks work, and it was very difficult for the production company because there is a large group of leading actors in this movie, many of whom you know and you will have seen before, but a number of us had other commitments, so they were continually having to, as we say, shoot out leading actors, that is, do all of their coverage and then come back and pick up the rest of the work. So it was kind of complicated for Anna Paquin and Ian McKellen and Halle Berry and myself that we all had to be somewhere else at a certain time, which is why the film continues in production without all of us and will do until sometime in August, I guess. All I can tell you, and you will understand that I can tell you almost nothing about Days of Future Past, but I think it is going to certainly be the X-Men of all X-Men pictures. one doesn't want to tempt fate, but perhaps also the blockbuster of 2014. It was a wonderful experience to be reunited with those people I've already mentioned and others, like Hugh Jackman, for example, who, of course, is there for the duration of shooting. Delightful to be reunited, not only with my fellow actors, but with, and how blessed we are in this, our original director, Bryan Singer. And our original cinematographer, Tom Siegel. Our executive producer, Lauren Schuler-Donner. And, of course, 20th Century Fox, who are still the studio who are behind the whole X-Men franchise. It's interesting, it must be, what, 6-7 years since X-Men 3, when you will recall, I hope you will recall, I certainly do, that Charles Xavier was vaporized by, what's her name, Jean Grey. Bad. And you are asking yourselves, well, if you were vaporized, how can you be in the next X-Men movie? Anybody got any ideas how that came about? Yeah, right, that's exactly, I guess, something like that. There will be an explanation, however, but it was a little puzzling to me anyway, because I thought my X-Men days were over, but not so. So, something to look forward to, because there's not much to look forward to, is there, these days? Really? I've got 2 other films opening next year. That's something to look forward to. One of them is in Hebrew. How many Hebrew speakers in our audience? 1. Come on, there's got to be more than 1. Yes, thank you, sir. 2. Well, you'll be relieved to hear that I don't speak Hebrew in the movie, but everybody else does, which is one of the running jokes of the movie. I never understand what people are saying to me. But it's called Hunting Elephants. There are no elephants in this movie, and there is no hunting either. It is a metaphor, as you had already worked out for yourselves. But just as a little précis of the plot, it's a bank robbery movie. A bank robbery is planned, plotted, and executed by 3 very old men and a teenage boy. The old men all live in a care home in Jerusalem. One of them has a walking frame, and another one has a urine bag attached to his side. Unlikely bank robbers, yeah? I mean, this is not exactly Tom Cruise land that we're dealing with here. We could have done with Tom, actually. That would have been a big help. But that's the plot of the movie. And I had an amazing 4 or 5 weeks filming in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. An amazing time, and learned so much more about that country and its people, and the whole issue surrounding that part of the Middle East. And it's an experience I'm very grateful for. The other one is a film called Match, which I filmed in Brooklyn in November and December this year. It's a film about a man who teaches classical ballet at Juilliard School in New York, that's me, who is approached by a couple asking if they could interview him about ballet in America, so he invites them to his apartment, but that's not why they're there. And I can tell you no more than that. But it's a movie I'm feeling quite proud of, and I have two fabulous co-stars in the film. Matthew Lillard, who's a wonderful and exciting actor, and Carla Gugino, who is a beautiful and brilliant actress. We had a good time. And that's it. I have nothing else to tell you except the following, and this is far more important than anything that I've said so far. In mid-October of this year, 4 actors will be presenting 2 plays on the Broadway stage. One of the plays is Waiting for Godot. The other play is what I think is Harold Pinter's masterpiece called No Man's Land. There are 4 male characters in each play. The 4 characters in each play will be played by the same 4 actors. And those 4 actors are Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, Shula Hensley and Billy Crudup. Same director, same designer, and we plan to do these 2 plays in repertory, and at least one day a week you will, if you're completely crazy enough, be able to see both plays on the same day. We don't think this has ever been done on Broadway before, and it was very important to Ian McKellen and myself that we had 2 American actors in the play with us, because we wanted this to be as much an Anglo-American venture as it could possibly be. And we have got in Shula and Billy 2 brilliant actors. And I can only tell you we're all very excited about this. There is going to be a little introduction when the Harold Pinter play, No Man's Land, is going to run for a 4-week season at Berkeley Rep in Northern California. Should any of you find yourselves in the wine country, or on vacation in San Francisco, for the entire month of August, we're just across the bay. And that really is it. There ain't any more. So what I'm going to do now is, are we taking questions? We are taking questions, aren't we? Do we have microphones ready?
Yeah.
We're ready.
We're ready.
Yeah.
And they're ready too. I told them to make sure they had good questions for you, sir.
You did?
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
They've all been vetted and
Yes, that is. Ryan, you have a question though.
Actually, I just was reminded of something. I know you've got a long-standing relationship with Seth MacFarlane. I was telling everybody before you came out here, first of all, thank you for all the years that you've entertained us. And I was telling them how much it meant to me, because I remember in college, that's where I started watching Star Trek. My 13-year-old daughter only knows you as the boss on American Dad. Sad but true, but any possibility
You have your 13-year-old daughter watches American Dad? You have a very liberal household, and I applaud you for that.
Well, thank you. What about any chance at TED 2?
How much can I say and can I not say? Yes, there is a TED 2 plan, which is great news because I love TED 1, and I think there's a reasonable chance that I may be reprising my role as a voiceover.
Your closing narration, I mean, that was probably the Superman, the Brandon Routh thing was just the best. So, we're gonna get out there and get some. Oh, by the way, Patrick, one thing while he's actually getting the microphone out there, I did have a chance. I talked to Brent Spiner one time, and he did mention that I really am a Star Trek geek. I was actually in an episode of Enterprise, and I was fortunate enough to be filming with Brent that whole day. He said he had never watched a single episode. Now, are you the same?
Well, I'm sorry to say this to Houston or Texas audience, because Brent, of course, is a native of your fair city, but he's lying. I mean, look, it's a great story. And I came in halfway through that story just now.
Oh no.
And I assumed that you were actually talking about William Shatner. Because I think Bill has never seen one episode of Next Generation.
Do you two stay in touch?
Who, Bill?
Yeah.
Oh, very much so. He's a good friend. I adore Bill. He's an extraordinary man with an extraordinary career behind him. No, Brent has seen episodes.
And what about you?
Yeah, I've seen a lot. I've seen most of them. I have to admit, not all of them. And it's one of those things I've got penciled in for some time down the road when I have nothing to do but sit at home and watch reruns of Next Generation.
That's on your bucket list, okay.
Yeah, it is that I would do that. You know, not too long ago I just checked into a hotel, and a little like tonight, I was a little weary and decided I would go for room service. And so I ordered my food, and I was sitting there flicking channels, and up came an episode of Next Generation. And as often happens, I look at it and think, I've never seen this before. I don't remember doing those scenes. And anyway, you know, I sat there watching it, and then there was a ring at the bell, and the guy came in with the room service, and he put it down, and I picked the bill up, and he was, you know, looking around the room, and I saw him. I was aware he was looking at the television screen. And I thought, oh dear. Because after he'd gone, I could imagine him returning to the kitchen and saying, I have just seen the saddest thing. Patrick Stewart is sitting up there in his room watching reruns of Next Generation. You know, in the famous words of Mr. Shatner, get a life, Patrick.
All right. We've got a question for you, and he's in costume as well. Dude, what's your name?
John,
John, what's your question?
one thing I've always wondered, which are you, so all the film that you've been doing now, which are you more comfortable with? Still doing film or on stage?
Okay, did you all hear that question? Yeah. First of all, I've got to ask you, is that what is worn under football players' jerseys?
Yes. Yes.
That's what, I've never seen what it looks like, you see. I only seen it on the outside of the jersey. And who are you?
I'm actually a character I made from Tron.
Made from Tron.
Yes.
All right.
Jeff Bridges.
Oh. Wonderful actor.
By the way, turn around so everybody can see this.
And that is literally a football player's protection.
Yes,
So,
it's
wow.
my football pads.
Yeah, well, I'm very impressed. Speaking of protection, I saw. I saw my first hockey game 3 weeks ago. Now, I know it's a little insensitive to be wearing a Habs hat here in Houston, but I'd never seen a hockey match before, and I struggled watching it on television and thought it was not for me. It was one of the most exciting experiences of my life. I actually went back and saw another game the following week, and the Habs lost both games badly, and I was asked by the executives of the team not to come again. But that is one heck of a sport.
I don't think he answered your question. You really threw him off with that, by the way.
You noticed, did you? I didn't answer the question.
You're running for office. Have a seat, dude. You're making me nervous. Ryan, you have somebody?
Oh, hey, whoa. No. Having been exposed for not answering the question, I will now answer the question. I'm sorry, in the back of my mind, there is still the sense that the alarm was going off in my apartment. It's okay, I'm sure everything's fine. I became an actor because I wanted to be on stage. But that was largely because the stage was all that was available to me. I didn't own a television set until I was 26. And my parents, up to the time that I left home at the age of 17, never had a television set. Films were something that I saw on Saturday mornings, and I was a big fan of the movies, but they were pure escapism. They were all about a fantasy world which was, no matter how grim the movie was I was watching, always seemed to be better than my life. But it was like imagining oneself living on the moon. So I never thought of becoming a television actor because I'd never been exposed to it, or certainly not a film actor. Everything that has happened to me, other than my work on stage, has been an accident. Now, I'm not saying I'm not grateful for that, because I am for all of the accidents that have happened to me in the way of television and film. But all I ever wanted to be was somebody else, speaking somebody else's words, and it took me many, many decades to work this out, using the only means that I had available to me to let people know who I was, that is, who Patrick Stewart was. Believe me, I was in my 50s before I'd finally worked this out. It was my only means of communication, which is why live audiences have never frightened me, because my need to be in front of a line, there are a lot of you here, was so great. I never ever suffered from stage fright, because from the age of 12, that brightly lit square of space in front of a darkened auditorium filled with people, this was the safest place I knew in my life. Does that make sense? It sounds wacky. This answer could take several hours, but it's okay. It's not going to. I'm going to wind it up. I'm going to wind it up by quoting the great director Ingmar Bergman, who was asked the same question. And his answer was, I love the cinema, but theater is my life. Thank you.
All right, Patrick. Our next question is from Jill. Jill, take it away.
What is your most challenging role?
Your most challenging role, most demanding role up to date.
I would say there have been two, and one of them I'm about to repeat this year, because playing Vladimir in Waiting for Godot was so challenging that although I've just now said I never suffered from stage fright, standing in the wings waiting to go on for the first public preview performance of Waiting for Godot, if someone had come to me and said, you know what, you don't need to do this. If you like, you can just go to your dressing room, take off your costume and go home, but you will never ever act again, I would have taken them up on that. And now it wasn't stage fright. It wasn't stage fright. It was just terror. Sir Ian McKellen and myself had not got through the play at that point. That afternoon at a dress rehearsal, the stage manager had walked on stage and stopped the run-through because we had jumped from Act 1 to Act 2, and we were unaware of that fact. The other was I created a solo performance around Charles Dickens' great novella, A Christmas Carol, and performing that was very challenging.
Excellent. All right, we've got one more question. What is your name?
I'm Alan. what character out there that exists anywhere really that you're studying? I still want to play this. I'm going to play this role before I pass on.
Gloom and doom there, dude. Thanks.
What is the character that you most
Oh
want to
no!
play?
Look! I think about that a great deal these days. You know? My career and life are not infinite, and there are things I still have to do. And one of them is coming up because I have always wanted to play the role of Hearst in No Man's Land, and damn it, in August I'm going to play it. I saw the original production with Sir John Gielgud and Sir Ralph Richardson, and I saw it 3 times in 1 week. And all I could think of was one day I'm going to have a shot at this role. Funnily enough, I also saw Peter O'Toole play Vladimir in Waiting for Godot. That was when I was a student. And again, I had said to myself, one day I'm going to do that. Well, I have a list of roles that I still want to play, and things I want to do. And I'm going to have a shot at doing all of them if I possibly can.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next question comes from
Eric. Oh, okay. All right. I was a fan, but some people weren't. After the Dune movie, were you concerned that your acting career might not be that, you know?
So in other words, after the movie Dune, did you think it was over?
Are you suggesting there were people who didn't like the Dune movie?
That's what I read.
Do you have their names and addresses? You and I can go and visit them.
I liked it.
Yeah. Well, I do not have time to tell the whole story here, but I was never meant to be in Dune. I was cast by accident, and it is a long story, and you will think I am just spinning you a line. David Lynch thought he was getting somebody else. And there is a reason, a very good reason why he thought this, but he found himself having to shoot the ornithopter scene the next morning after he had discovered that I was not who he thought I was, and there was nothing he could do. And really for the remaining next 5 months, which is how long it took to shoot Dune, he never said anything to me. But I would see him occasionally looking at me with a kind of frown on his face. Like he was thinking, how could I have got it so wrong? No, I didn't think that. I was thrilled to be in Dune. It was the first big blockbuster I'd ever been in. And I met some fantastic people, and I worked with people like Max von Sydow. And I became close friends with Kyle MacLachlan and Everett McGill, fabulous people. So, no, I'm very proud that now it has become a kind of a cult movie.
Oh yeah. Was there ever a discouraging point though in your career where you thought like, oh boy, you know, I just don't know? He's over there, not me. Don't get mad at me. It's my partner over there.
No, I don't think there ever was. Not because I was always doing brilliantly, but because I loved my job even when I wasn't doing it. And quite honestly, there wasn't anything else I could have done. And so I was never, I've been disappointed, but never discouraged.
Cool. All right, we got the question right here in the middle of Patrick Stewart. What is your name?
My name is Heather.
Hello, Heather. You okay? Okay, what's your question?
All right, this is more of a somber question. I recently saw on YouTube how you talked to Amnesty Now, I think it was, about your view against violence against women, and that speech was really moving to me, and it helped me through my own turmoils in a little bit. So I wanted to thank you personally for that. And then my question, segueing into that, besides acting, what are you most proud of that you've done in your life that you're willing to share with us that isn't related to acting?
Great question.
Thank you. I think you have very beautifully linked the important things together. The work that I do in campaigns about violence towards women, particularly domestic violence, is something that grew out of my own childhood experience. And I'm associated particularly with one organization in England called Refuge, which has, since the 1970s, provided, among many other services, safe houses for women and children. And I mean safe houses, where they can go and feel, perhaps for the first time in years, secure with their children. Refuge is a great organization. Now, a few months ago, I did do this event, the Million Man Pledge, which was co-sponsored by the United Nations. And it is a great campaign, which is based on the belief that the people who could do most to improve the situation of so many women and children are in fact men. It's in our hands to stop violence towards women. So I do what I do. I do what I do in my mother's name because I couldn't help her then. Now I can. But since, and I've talked often about this, I'm on record about my childhood, but last year I learned things about my father that I didn't know and my elder brother didn't know. And that was that in 1940, due to his experiences in France with the British Expeditionary Force, my father was suffering from what was then called severe shell shock. And that's what I read in his notes at the Imperial War Museum in England. We now know it as post-traumatic stress disorder, and we also know that there are soldiers now all over the world, here in the United States and in the United Kingdom, who are returning from combat zones with a serious condition of post-traumatic stress disorder. Now we know what it is, and we know how to deal with it. In 1940, it was just shell shock, and basically soldiers were being told, pull yourself together, get a grip on yourself and get out there and be a man. Well, it has put into an expert in this condition who works with a charity, another organization I'm now happy to be a patron of, called Combat Stress, has said to me, what your father had in 1940, because he was never treated, never left him. And all the conditions of your childhood that you have described to me are classic symptoms of veterans who were suffering from this serious psychological and physical illness. So I work for Refuge for my mother, and I work for Combat Stress for my father in equal measure.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful story.
Thank you. My dear, are you okay? You are.
The thing that happened, it's past, and it was just a point of accepting that that it was okay, that it happened, and that I, you know, that I wasn't. Because one thing I've noticed is there's still that shaming of the women, and so that speech really just finally let me say it's okay that that happened, and you know, I can move on and heal. So I really appreciate it, I really do.
As a child, I heard in my home doctors and ambulance men say, "Mrs. Stewart, you must have done something to provoke him. Mrs. Stewart, it takes two to make an argument." Wrong. Wrong. My mother did nothing to provoke that. And even if she had, violence is never, ever a choice that a man should make. Ever. And you know, guys, thank you. I look around and I see a lot of men standing up, and that's brilliant, because you have here in Texas a man called Michael Rawlings, Mayor of Dallas. Michael was with me on that platform at the United Nations event, and he spoke so potently and so powerfully about these issues. He spoke about it from his own experience of being a Texan and of living and working in Dallas. And I was so proud to share that platform with him. He's a remarkable individual. Okay, we're going to talk about other things.
Right.
You take care of yourself.
You want a hug? Go get a hug. Yeah, go get a hug. Go get a hug. Almost impossible to follow. So let's go ahead and Patrick, I know you always love talking about acting, and I think somebody here wants to get some sordid details from you. First of all, your name?
My name's James, and I'm not sure about sordid, but as an actor, what qualities do you look for in the directors you work with? And you know, positive, obviously, but if you're willing to share, what parts of directors you didn't like working with?
Because you are able to choose your own directors now, correct?
Up to a point, yes. Certainly in the theater, and to a certain extent in film, yeah. But the directors often come before the actors in film. I like openness. I like not to be controlled, and I've known that. All actors have known that, what it's like to work with a director who sees you as something to be manipulated, not to create something with. I like a director who can concentrate and be focused. I like someone who can tune in, who sees directing as a collaborative art form and not as a dictatorship.
Do you ever feel it's an insult to the craft when you know a director is purposely trying to manipulate you to get the scene the way he wants it?
If I do know that, I wouldn't be in that rehearsal room for very long. Because I don't think manipulation plays any part in the creative process. Really? Are you an actor?
No, I'm a young filmmaker.
Well, we need you. Good luck.
Thank you. Awesome. We're going to take one more final question. Dude, make it a good one. What's your name?
My name's Aaron, and yes, it is a good one. Two-parter. One, did your time as Captain Picard inform your portrayal of Charles Xavier? And secondly, can we get a shut up, Wesley? Is that okay?
That was awesome, by the way. That was awesome. Close it out. Yes.
Captain Picard was informed by everything that I had done that preceded that performance. And I was so glad that I had spent so many years on the stage and indeed performing in Shakespeare whenever I put on my spacesuit, especially when I walked onto the bridge. All of that helped me so much. A lot of what I brought to Captain Picard was actually my father, who had been a high-ranking non-commissioned officer in the British Army, someone of such authority and bearing and command that after he died, one of his friends who had served with him in the military said to me, "When your father walks onto the parade ground, the birds in the trees stop singing." And there is a great deal of Alfred Stewart in Jean-Luc Picard. I can't say that much of Jean-Luc Picard went into Charles Xavier, but working on Star Trek had given me a different quality of confidence than any that I had had before. And although I tried to turn down Charles Xavier, indeed did, and was persuaded by Bryan Singer to change my mind, I was turning it down because I thought to follow